Hey guys, I'm back with a follow-up to my Feed the Beast 1.2.1 Gregtech Fusion Reactor video. I've made some modifications to it that I'm pretty excited about. There's a couple minor tweaks that I'll go over out here in the field, but first I want to show you the thing that I am truly excited about. As you might remember, I used to have an incinerator here where I was purging sand. And I don't really like incinerating things, so I was trying to find a way to do something with my sand, and I came upon the alkahest. So you know we're already using the tomb of alkahest to turn one redstone into 16 end stone, but now what we're doing is we're taking our surplus sand and we are processing it in this advanced crafting table, and we're making redstone out of it. So we make 12 sand every time we process 16 end stone, and we need 64 sand to make one redstone. So it's really only every 5.3 cycles or something we'll make a free redstone. But that's pretty good. It's definitely cutting down on the UU matter that we're using. But just for fun, I decided to go ahead and hook up some igneous extruders, and we're also processing cobblestone. So we should no longer have to use UU matter at all for our redstone, making this reactor 100% profit. So the only thing that it is using now is the power to run these machine banks, which is pretty minimal. Let's grab our EU reader out and take a look. Yep, so we added, if you'll recall before, I think we were at 1100, so we added just a couple hundred EU there. Yep, so in total, we're still only using like 1300 EU per tick. Yeah, and we're no longer using any UU matter at all for redstone. So let's go over how this works right fast. The only way that I have been able to find to auto craft with the alkahest is with this guy right here. He's buildcraft, so we are using energy bridges coming off here, and we have to put lasers behind it to get them to craft. The trick to making it work to actually give you redstone is you have to regulate and ensure that you only put in full stacks at a time. If you put anything in other than a full stack, it will just consume your materials and not give you any redstone back. So the way we're handling this is we're handshaking between a child network and our primary network there. We've got a storage bus here. This will accept sand and redstone. You'll see why we have redstone in just a minute. And we've got an interface up here, and what we're doing is we are shipping in stack mode sand. But as you know, that doesn't always just ship a stack. It ships as much as it has up to a stack. So we're only doing that if we have at least 512 sand in the system. And the reason we're at 512 instead of 64 is sometimes it takes a while for this to cut off. So we want to make sure that we've got plenty to ride it out. So whenever this goes off, it'll normally dump 2 to 3 stacks of sand into my table down there, which is still plenty because we had 512 in our parent system. So we get nothing but full stacks there. We also had to add a chest with a 1K storage unit on it, and this is to collect the cobblestone off of our igneous extruders back here. And we're doing the exact same trick there. We're saying if we have 512 cobblestone in this system, our secondary network, so in that chest, then pump it into this table. So we're not doing that with a storage bus like we are on the other one. We're using an export bus set to full stacks of cobble, and then we're using an import bus to pull the redstone back out. And obviously the only, well, not obviously, this is set to a higher priority than our chest, so the redstone will fall back into here. And the reason that we're putting our redstone back in here is we just want to make sure that at no point do we pull all the redstone out of this table. If something crazy were to happen, we get a sudden influx of sand, we want to make sure that a slot is always reserved for the redstone. And so that is why we're spitting out all but 20 of our redstone back into our parent network. So we're always keeping reserve to hold this slot open. So that's what that's about. And this entire segment of the network back here, this is controlled by a single piece of dark cable, and that is controlled by the redstone levels in our parent network. So we're only running our cobble side if we are below 384 redstone in our parent network, And just for fun, we did leave our UU matter recipe in here. So worst case scenario, we can always craft redstone with UU if we need to, but that should never have to go off again. So rocks and water, guys. We're making rocks here. We're turning them into redstone. We're turning the redstone into endstone. We're turning the endstone into helium-3, which goes into our system. We are pumping water out with aqueous accumulators, turning that into hydrogen cells. We are turning that into deuterium, and we're pumping it into here. So it uses fewer machines than the deuterium-tritium build, and the other cool thing is it uses less power to keep running. So let's take a look here at, we'll just pull up helium-3. Helium-3. Oh, I need to be in recipe mode. Helium-3. What can I make with you? I can make fusion reactions with you. Come on. Doop, 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 doop. So you can see our fusion reactor, this is using 2048 EU per tick that is running, whereas our tritium deuterium uses 4096. So the difference in power between the two is more than it takes to run all of our machines. So it's, yeah, we use less power in the reactor, we use fewer machines, and we have the exact same output from it. So I said there were some other minor tweaks, so I just want to take a look at those right fast. I noticed I was running a surplus of helium plasma over time, so I have added a 31st plasma generator here, which means we've got the full output of 30 plasma generators running into our system, where we're using 1300, and the rest is going into our matter fabricators over there. This is the point at which it no longer goes down. You can put a 30-second one on there, and it will run part of the time. So that's up to you. 31, you'll actually run a surplus still. Very, very minor. 32, you will use every single bit that comes out, but some of them will cut off from time to time. And I have added a 8th matter fabricator. As I indicated, we weren't drawing all of the power that we could have been in our previous build because we didn't have enough matter fabricators on the line. So we're now drawing 60,000 EU per tick into matter fabrication. One of the other things I pointed out before was that I had too many of these bad boys on the line, and actually I think I took off one too many. I ran it again. I accidentally corrupted my map file after running it for 17 hours. I put a storage bus on a Gregtech machine by mistake. In case you're not aware, that corrupts your map in this version. So don't do that. I accidentally did that, and I believe you actually want one more recycler here. I think I found that with this I ran a very small deficit, and with one more I ran a slightly too much. So there's 11 in a row here, so 11, 22, 33, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. So 39 recyclers is the appropriate number to use. And you can just use a scrap box in here to get rid of the rest, or whatever you want to do with it. But it'll be a very, very slight amount extra. Another thing that I noticed in this build was that very, very frequently my crafting station would indicate that I was making empty cells, and it was waiting on compressed air cells. So I changed the regulation on this to only do it when I have 6 compressed air cells in my system, to reclaim them only when I have 6. So I do keep 6 compressed air cells at all times, and that's for the same reason I have the hand shaking over here, because it runs 2 or 3 at a time. I can't remember everything I covered. I went ahead and added the cutoffs that I talked about in the previous video. So we're regulating all of these. The AE shuts off at 320, and again 320 on deuterium and 320 on hydrogen. And so I was running a surplus on helium-3 previously, and that's because of the helium reclamation line. But I was running a slight deficit on deuterium. I think I lost 20 cells over the course of 17 hours of running it. But that wasn't because I don't have enough centrifuges. It was because I wasn't making enough hydrogen cells. So I have added a 7th industrial electrolyzer down here, making hydrogen cells. And that's it, man. That is balanced, absolutely free power. It is the rocks and water fusion reactor solve. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. And there were some requests for a map file, so I'll see what I can do to find a spot to put this, and I'll put a link down in the description of the video. Thank you.